Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dice Tower. My name is Zee Garcia.
And I'm Camilla.
Today we are taking a look at Aberration here, a dungeon crawling tower defense game from the company Ghostfire Gaming and designer Peter Lee. Peter Lee is one of the designers behind Horrified, a well-known cooperative game, and Lords of Waterdeep, a well-known D&D board game, very well regarded. And this is a fairly new design from him. I believe Aberration here is an RPG setting that Ghostfire Gaming puts out.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with it, but I believe that's what this is based on. And like I said, it's a tower defense game. You are cooperatively trying to defend the center of this village from encroaching beasties trying to survive and get victory points. Let me show you how it works. Show you an overview here of how it all comes together. We'll come on back, tell you what we thought of it. In the game, the players have a village center here. They have a board made up of 4 of these segments with paths on them leading into the village center. You've also got over here a board that's going to hold the horde creatures and then 2 monstrosities. You've got a transformation deck, and then you've got these great beast cards. And over here, you've got then what we are attempting to do, which is level up on the survival track here. If we get all the way to 15, then we are going to win. And then there's also this fear track that will lead to defeat. You've got an objective deck with 1 face-up. This is what we need to accomplish in order to move up on the survival track. And then there's also items that you'll have access to as the game goes on. So in the game, there are going to be 3 turns every round. With the village turn being kind of a reset, you're really just sort of taking these villagers, these little meeples, returning them to the village center. If you've put them out in various places to activate benefits, you're going to return them. You're going to pass the star player marker to the next player, and you are ready to start with the hero turns. During the hero turns, everybody has their own board in front of them. We're going to focus on that in 1 second, okay? You are going to be taking a turn by pulling tokens from a bag and then assigning those to various actions you intend to take. And once we've all done that, every player, then we go to the Great Beast turn, which is the bad guys taking a turn, and they're going to activate on the board. All of the bad guys are here represented by these standees, normally, of course, on a plastic base, so they'll stand up, but I laid them down so you could see what there is. There are also optionally miniatures, but they do come in a separate box, so I'm not featuring these too heavily. You'd have to get the miniature set for the game as well. But this guy here would be him, as you can see. And then you've got the spider here, which would be this little spider right here. You've got a few different ones. There's these bats over here, which are this miniature, what have you. Okay, so that is the Great Beast turn. They're all going to activate clockwise starting from the north. When these things activate, they're going to move forward. If they're with someone, they'll attack that character. And these are our people with the colored bases. They'll attack you. You'll take damage. If they're not with you, they'll move forward. And if they step into you, then they'll attack you. But they're basically trying to get into the village center. When they get in there, the fear track will go up and that piece will vanish, later to be reintroduced into one of these tracks around the board and make their way back to the center. You are attempting to keep them from doing that. And then once you've done that, you're going to also advance these shadows. These tokens here are unknowns. They will be moving forward as well, and when they step into places that have these flames, you'll reveal what's been hiding in the shadow. Likely more of these monsters, but perhaps not, perhaps something else. And so they'll be advancing as well. And then lastly, you'll be drawing one of these Great Beast cards and doing a few things on this card. Mainly, having an ability that happens. At the top, you'll have a number, which is a monster, a creature that levels up. So this card here, the number at the top is the Roman numeral 1. So we would look at this tag here, Frenzied Spiders, and we would go, this is level 1, it says at the top, so we would actually go to level 2, making it the spiders a little bit harder, and these continue to go up. Every time that number is at the top of a Great Beast card, it becomes a little bit harder to deal with whatever that type of creature might be. So these are going to level up. Then there's an ability. Each hero takes 2 damage and draws an item card. Okay, some good, some bad. And then we spawn some new shadows equal to the number of heroes plus 2, starting from the west. And they come in from the highest number that is unoccupied. So 5 is taken here, 4 has all this, so we put a shadow token here in 3, and we go around putting shadow tokens until we've put out enough to satisfy the card. With that done, the Great Beast card is done, and we go back to the top where we begin a new village turn. All right? So that's the board, and that's what's going on in there. There's also one more thing you can do on this board, which is if you are next to one of these locations, let me move the shadow out of there, you can spend specific tokens here to gain 1 survival, and you have to pay these tokens, and then you'll flip this over, and you now have a new place in which to put one of these characters and take a specific action. You have that action listed on your player aid, what militia means, and so you would do that and take a new ability that you can trigger. But you do have to protect these because they could become corrupted if enough corruption pushes in from the outside. So if a corruption shows up here, this fortify the smithy location will fall, and you'll gain 1 fear instead. So these all begin ready to be claimed, but not claimed yet. And that's another way, again, in which you can gain survival points, which you need in order to win the entire thing. Now let's back up just a little bit here and take a look at each player's board, what this would look like, and the things they are going to be doing when they're taking a turn. First of all, everybody's going to have a bag here that you are going to seed with some tokens based on the character you picked, in this case the dwarf. I'm adding some tokens here to my bag. And then over here I have a monster hunter, so I'm a dwarf monster hunter. And it adds some more tokens. I get some trap tokens, it says. And then it tells me where I begin the game on the board. And then I'll flip these over and I'll set up this central board just like this, no matter what color you're playing. And so, every time it's your go, it'll explain right here at the top of your central board what it is you are doing. So the very first thing I do is, I'm going to take one of these tokens, the leftmost in whichever column I want, or whichever row I want, and I'm going to put it in my bag. So I might take, for example, this one. And below that, it'll either say I draw an item card, or it will say that the value of that line goes up. So my strength would go from 2 to 3. If I choose to take that one, I'm going to take speed and put that in my bag. And then I draw an item card from the item card deck here. So I would take one of these. It's a compass. It says choose a hero. They move up to their speed. Okay, so I can choose someone to move. I also have this token here at the beginning of my track. This is going to track my health. And if I get to the back here, that's defeat. And so now that I've taken one and put it in my bag, I shuffle this up, and I'm going to draw a number equal to my intellect. That would be 3. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to pull 3 of these. These are my active tokens right now. And I'm just going to, I'm going to put those right there. And so now I can take actions with these tokens in order to manipulate the board, to fight back, to do things I need to do. Over here are the different abilities I can take. At the top, Investigate takes any color. That lets me reveal a shadow on the map and then move. Or I can do a Strike, which is also any color. That lets me make a melee attack dealing strength damage, dealing 2 damage. I don't need to roll for that one. I just do 2 damage. Then I could lay a trap here if I do one of these blue ones. That lets me put out a trap token, and when something steps into it, I'll roll against it. I can do crowd fighting here. And these are all going to be slightly different, by the way, based on who you are. So, for example, this is the Monster Hunter, works that way. But if I was the captain, I would have Misdirection on here, which says move any shadow or aberration 1 space on any map tile. I would have Tactical Takedown, where I can place an aberration on my map tile into my space and then make a melee attack. So these are going to change based on who you are playing. It's going to have, moving around, making ranged attacks possibly, assigning villagers to those locations out there and then doing what the villagers let you do. Militia over here, scouting, even shooting an arrow with some archers from the center of the village. You could do that with one of those. And so that's the idea. Once you're done assigning those, you could even save one and use it later. Save one right there. And you can, if you're working on the active objective, in this case it happens to be defeat a monstrosity. Once we do this once, we're going to get a reward of 1 survival and flip a new one. But if you don't like it, you can spend one of these to do what's called a refocus and discard this card and then take a new one from the top of the objective deck here and work on that. Each player places an objective token on the highest numbered space on a different map tile, and if you end on that space, then you collect the token. Do this enough, and you win 1 survival. Oh, maybe we don't want that. Somebody else could spend one to replenish this to a new one. Have no shadows remaining on the map at the end of any hero's turn. Plus 2 survival. Very nice. So that's the idea with the objectives and how you advance those. Once you are done with all of this, these go in the discard pool, which I guess is there. You have a special ability. I have a special ability as a dwarf. And then next time it's my activation, I will once again pick one of these. I will put it in the bag and I'll draw 3. If I ever need to draw and there aren't enough, of course, then I put everything in the discard pile back in the bag and shuffle that up. There's also this white one. You might begin with some, plus you'll unlock one here. This is wild. You can use it towards whatever you want to. And you might also get some black ones, which are these. And these are going to let you do many things as well. But when you draw them, then they hurt you. And you'll go up on this track. Speaking of getting hurt, in this game, it is possible that you will mutate as you are dealing with these strange monstrosities. When you arrive at these locations here, highlighted in red, then you're going to go through a transformation. This deck here is the transformation deck. And when you arrive at one of these, there, and then back here, you are going to draw one of these and you'll mutate. In this case, it says, when you draw this card, move a speed chip from your ability board to your hero bag. So I would move this into my bag. But then at the bottom it says I have a hideous appearance, and when I draw this card, I gain a fear. So our fear track over here is going to go up. So these are going to be a little good, a little bad, giving you new abilities, but becoming a drawback in some way, shape, or form. And so that is what the players are doing. And that's generally what's going on in the game. You do have 3 hordes, which are the slightly weaker monsters, and then some monstrosities, the bigger, heavier sort of ones, which are going to have effects like armor, shrugging off some of the attacks. And of course, these might level up as well, which is going to be a problem as the levels go up. Things become bigger and nastier and are going to be harder to take down, though these do come with a reward, as you see there printed down there. So that should be enough to give you an idea of what's going on. And of course, the game is scenario-based, so the board will be set up in different ways. The monsters you go up against will be different. And of course, you can pick different characters each time you play. But if you manage to get to your 15 survival points, then you will survive the entire game. You'll achieve victory and win. And if you fall to fear and get to 15 of that, you've lost and you're going to have to try again. So both you and I really love kind of miniatures games, like games with not measuring and stuff, but sort of, dungeon crawly sort of things. Dungeon crawl, adventure, kind of that horror. Right. Any of those kind of beasties with whatever, right? Yeah. And this is one game that caught my eye because of that. If you look at the outside of the cover here, there's a lot of sort of freaky mutated beasts. But then once I got in there, I was surprised by how sort of small in scope the game is. I thought it was smaller than, I expected in my head, I think. Yeah, absolutely. I think both in components it's smaller, and then also in the gameplay is simpler than I anticipated as well. Yeah. So when you say Peter Lee, was part of the team behind Horrified and Lords of Waterdeep, I'm like, yep, I see that. By no means am I saying I see elements of those games in this. This is a very different game, but the design feel is similar as a positive. I mean that positively. I agree. So it's smaller than I expected. It's shorter than I expected. Mm-hmm. It's a game that doesn't feel like it has a lot of strenuous things. There's not a lot of sort of pieces of it that I would have cut and salvaged the flavor of those things, because the things that are in there I find to be thematic and flavorful, you know. And there's a lot of, while the sort of structure of the game is simple, there's a lot of little things that add up to interesting choices, both thematically and mechanically. Things like those vantage points you have to go and flip over, and now you have a new place to send a villager. You have item cards. The item cards, you can play them on your turn for something at the top, but there's a little strap at the bottom that you can play on somebody else's turn.
Right.
You'd be like, oh, you're going to roll dice, plus 1 die, buddy. I got you. I like that stuff, that cooperation.
Yeah, for it to be as streamlined as it is, there's a lot of ways to customize that play for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, that card, like you said, multi-use, you can use it different ways, or if you get a goal or objective that you don't like, a way that you can pass on that.
Yeah.
If you don't quite get the tokens that you need to take the right actions, then you do have that wild one up at the top that can take anything. So it's very simplified. Here's how you play. And then here's kind of a list of ways to mitigate that to fit your needs for that play so that you can be successful.
Yeah, and to add, like I said, some flavor. My favorite thing, or one of my favorite things, is the fact that we, the players, mutate when you take hits. Like, if you get to a certain threshold, you draw a mutation card, and you're like, wow, you mutate, and some negative thing happens to you, but some positive thing happens as well. You have a new place to put a token, whatever, something cool. And I love that. I just, like, in, you know, the thematically, like, the story in my head benefits from that. Right. And mechanically, it's pretty simple and works, too.
And it leads to some humor moments as well.
Yeah.
You know, like there's one where it's like, oh, you have a third arm, so you're kind of scary to everybody. Therefore, this negative thing happens, but you have a third arm, which means you're this much stronger or whatever, you know? So it ties in thematically, but it also leads to some really funny moments. And I like how unique those mutations are as well. Not all of them have something negative with them.
Right.
You know, it also might give you another action selection. Like there's so much variety in those mutations as well. Leads to some funny moments. And again, game flexibility.
Yeah, I agree. Now, the game being so simple does lead to, in my opinion, being a little repetitive. I think the gameplay and the cycle of games, not just from game to game, but within one session, one play of it, yeah, the turns can feel repetitive. You're kind of doing the same thing every time. There's not a ton of evolution, no pun intended, I guess, as you mutate. But from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, you're not evolving a whole ton. The monsters get harder, you know, and you get items and you're a little bit different. But round to round, it can get samey.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest drawback for me of the game is it doesn't, I'd be hesitant to say it overstays its welcome. Because I don't know that it does, but I'm ready for it to end when it ends at the same time. And also, I think usually one round before, so you know which way the game's going to go. So that last round, in a lot of the plays I've had of this, felt just kind of like getting to the resolution that you saw coming.
Yeah, that's interesting, yeah.
It's not that it's overstayed its welcome. I just knew where it was going. And then just to say that I finished the game, we did. And so it did kind of not quite fall flat, but fell flat like emotionally a little on the end. It doesn't feel like this big like crescendo or anything like that.
It's interesting. I hadn't thought of that, but you're right. The game, if you win, especially, because if you lose, you're like, oh, we got overwhelmed. Yeah. But if you win, it does kind of end with a little bit of a whimper. Mm-hmm. Where you're like, okay, well, you hit that guy and you hit that guy. That's the final two, whatever we need. We get to 15. Okay, we win.
Yeah.
Cool. You're right. It does, unfortunately, end that way. The game's pretty easy, too, so it's pretty easy to win, which I like. But you can increase that difficulty by having the monsters begin at higher levels and stuff. I enjoy this one. I think it's a fun game, but it has its flaws. There's some things there that do detract for me, but I love the look. I like the setting a lot. The scenarios, there's different scenarios, but they're not super distinct from one another. Again, the game can be repetitive, but if I want to play a really clean, straightforward dungeon crawly kind of game or a tower defense game, there's not too many that compete with this one head to head that do everything this game does for me.
Right.
You know, tower defense doesn't usually feel like this to me. I like being able to have a little bit more of a monster fighting, big beastie game in my tower defense game. And this one gives me that, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Anything else you want to mention before we jump into final thoughts here?
No, I think that's it. Do you want me to go first here?
Yes, please.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to come down at a 7.5 on this one. I really enjoy my plays of these. I think for me personally, for it to hit the table more often, I would want not more variety, more you were saying, not to feel quite as samey, maybe a little more excitement on the end, something like that. Like emotionally, it just doesn't quite hit. But mechanically, I really like what's happening in this game, and I think this would be one of my go-to to show people a tower defense games, or something I'd play every convention. So it's one that I'm always going to be happy to get to the table and probably show a lot of people more than I'm personally for my own game night. You know what I feel like playing tonight? Aberration, you know, so I think that it has a place for me that I really enjoy it and definitely recommend it. It's just not going to be a go-to one for the next 2 years that me and my game group just like eat up.
Right.
You know? So really enjoy what's going on. And oh man, we barely even touched on like the bag building and the action selection turning. That is so much fun. I love every turn you're building up your bag.
Right.
And then you're bringing out your actions. And so it feels so tactical. I love so much about this game. Just need a little bit more for it to be a recurrence for my own personal game night. So a 7.5 for me.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I'm coming in slightly higher at an 8, but I kind of oscillated between a 7.5 and an 8, honestly. And I think I'm giving it that little extra bit because of the mechanisms you're talking about, because there is a lot of clever small things in this. And I love that. I love an amalgamation of small clever things that makes the entire package feel fresh. The back building is great. The evolution of that, the removing a piece, and now that stat for me has gone up 1, or I got to draw a card. Just everything, the monsters, this leveling up of the monsters is mega clean. You draw the big bad card, and it tells you, okay, well, take this monster from level 1 to level 2. He's now slightly harder, that category of beastie. That's really neat. There's just such clarity here, you know? You don't find that with a lot of games of this ilk.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy that. But yes, it has some flaws, which we mentioned. So I'm at an 8. So there you go. That is Aberration, folks. This is a neat one. If you want something very digestible and you want a cool tower defense game that looks like this, has all the beasties and the nasties, then this, I think, is a recommend. That is a seal of approval from us. Thank you for checking this out, everybody. My name is Zee Garcia.
And I'm Camilla.
Go defend your villages, towers.
And mutate.
Mutate!
Go mutate.
Hey, thanks for watching another video here on the Dice Tower. We really appreciate you stopping by and checking our things out. Thanks so much for joining us today. And hey, if you really like what we're doing here at the Dice Tower, then there are different ways to support the Dice Tower. One of those ways is through Patreon. We have links in the description to this video. And we have links to lots of other things we do down there, so definitely check it out. But either way, we're glad you watched us. Tell your friends about the Dice Tower. Until next time, though, I'm Tom Vassell, and I hope you enjoyed this video.